It's no secret that we, along with many of you, love summertime. But for many people with mental health conditions, summer can be a trigger season for feelings of sadness, depression, and anxiety.
Yeah, so today we wanted to talk about the summer blues and things you can do to cope. Joining us live this morning is Dr. Thea Gallagher, a clinical psychologist and associate professor with NYU Langone Health. Hello, Dr. Gallagher. Always great to see you.
Hi, thanks for having me. Love to be here.
I have to say, when we first started having this discussion with our team, I was shocked.
Me too.
So can you talk to us first about the reasons why some people will feel more depressed in the summer than in the winter?
There's a lot of reasons. I mean, sometimes it can be that there's so much change, your life looks a lot different than it does during the year. You're out of your routine. There's a lot of expectations to have fun, which can feel a little bit like pressure. Also you can see a lot of people on social media, maybe traveling, having these vacations, maybe that you can't be on, or you can't be on all summer. And so then maybe you're looking and you have to work and you're feeling stressed by that as well. Also, it can be stressful to spend more money for these vacations or doing more social things. Also, if you're grieving, grief doesn't pick the season, maybe that you're navigating that. So that could also make things more difficult. And then just to add on top of everything, people that have, many people have, struggle with body image, eating disorders. It can be really triggering to also see a lot of those images as well.
Right, because everyone's walking around in their bathing suits.
Naked,
I got to tell you, I looked at my beginning of the summer. I said, am I the only person not in Portugal right now?
Oh my God, that was
including your parents.
my parents. That was the place to be. I know. It makes so much sense. It's like, oh my God, everyone's on these trips and I'm not there, and everyone's doing all the things, and it's summer, rooftop, but then you're at the same token, you're like, I don't want to spend all this money. Oh my God, and then you just have this anxiety. For me, it's like a rapid downward spiral. Okay, so let's talk about summer seasonal affective disorder specifically. So how common is this? And then how does that compare to winter seasonal affective disorder?
Well, we definitely see that people with seasonal affective disorder in like the winter months is more common. But really what seasonal affective disorder is just depression that tends to happen during certain seasons more in a patterned way. And so you want to observe, are you someone who does feel more down or depressed or want to isolate more or are struggling to feel happy? And does that usually happen more in those summer months? Because again, it's just like having depression any other time. It just tends to happen in a more cyclical way. So that's why you want to really observe, am I someone who struggles in the summer more? And I feel like the summer is a little more stigmatized because it's like a time you should be having fun. And so then I feel like it can be even harder to admit.
True. And I know a handful of folks who summer from the winter blues, or whatever the clinical word for it is, and they will get things that simulate sunlight in their homes.
True.
So is there an antithesis to that for summer? I'm trying to wrap my brain around this and how we work through it.
Yeah, well, I think it's such a great question because that's only one piece of the puzzle, right? One piece of the puzzle is maybe not getting enough vitamin D, serotonin, sunlight could impact depression in the winter. Well, we know that we're getting plenty of sunlight typically in the summer, so so we kind of rule out that theory. So that's why we have to go back to these other theories of change, being out of your routine, things that we know, predictability, and having kind of knowing how our day is going to shake out, and then again, kind of those other factors I was talking about, they can have an impact on us over time. And so I think it's important to understand some of these external factors, and we might not need the sun lamp in the summer because we're getting outside and we're getting that one factor of things, but we might need to adjust our expectations for summer outside of that. And there's a lot of pressure on summer, right? There's a lot of pressure to have fun, like have fun at all times. And that's just not the way life works.
Right, and meanwhile, it's not as long as anyone ever thinks. It's essentially 2 months long, so it is a lot added pressure there. But what are some ways to cope specifically with that summer sad seasonal affective disorder?
Yeah, well, the first thing, stop comparing yourself. It's so hard to do, but I think also it can be so easy when we look at those images, we look at what other people are doing and we're like, oh man, my life is not that. I think it's really important to sometimes take those breaks from social media, look at what you have in your life, what you have to look forward, what you're doing in your daily life. And also realize that a lot of those curated images aren't how everyone's life is. We've all been on a vacation and we post the great picture, but behind the scenes, we're yelling at our partner or whatever.
Highlight reel.
I would say, you got to stop comparing. You also, if you're struggling with body image, really practicing that body neutrality, being happy and like and grateful for what your body does, not just how it looks. You know, it got your, you know, you were able to walk to the beach, or you were able to pick up your kid. Really trying to practice that self-compassion a little bit for our bodies. And also, again, maybe take that time to not compare yourself to yourself, you know, take some time away from the mirror, maybe away from like comparing yourself to a lot of other people. And then really practicing that mindfulness. How do you stay in the present, in the moment where you are, even if you might want to be in Portugal? How do you bring yourself back to where you are and make meaning of the time that you have, and being in the present, and also trying to create some sort of predictable routine, even if you're on vacation, maybe knowing those things that help you to reset, whether that's a workout or trying to eat correctly. Some of those things are really important, and really trying to take that time for yourself. I know, you know, there's plenty of parents who are home with kids all summer. There's a lot of negotiating which camps or which things, or they're watching their kids all summer. Make sure you're taking time for yourself, because sometimes we're hosting and doing, and we're not actually giving back to ourselves in the way that we need to in those small ways.
It's interesting because we talked about this in one of the theories we came up with about one of the possibilities for this summer blues, summer sadness is we're not kids anymore. So it's not like at last day of school, yay, school's out for summer. We're like, oh, we got to go back to we got to go back to work. So we always use our time with you as an opportunity to guide us through. Once again, you do this every time you're here, and we love you for this. What do we look for in a therapist? If you are, you know, you're struggling with your mental health, all 4 seasons, going to see a therapist isn't the worst thing in the world. So
That's probably the best.
Yeah, what are your recommendations for finding a therapist that works for you? Because not everybody reacts the same way to every single therapist.
Yeah, you know, I think you want to think about what are your goals, what are you looking for? You know, right now, I think you want to look for a few different people. If you go on some of these websites like Psychology Today, ABCT, ADAA, you're looking for like somebody who, you know, you think you could relate to, who maybe does evidence-based treatment. And then also you want to reach out to a few people, because it can be hard to find someone. Reach out to a few people, send a few emails, make a few calls, and then try to connect with someone and know what your goals are going into it, and then give it a little time. It's like any relationship. You have to take time to build, to get to know that person and to get them to know you. But it can also be really helpful if you go in saying, hey, I don't have some sort of big grand goal, but I know I want to feel better. I might want to feel a little bit happier. I don't like how I'm responding in my life to certain situations. Can you help me navigate this? And be open to the process. Most people feel better after going to therapy. And so remember that as well.
Yeah.
Love that.
It's a process, but it's worth it.
And now if you are okay, but you know those who are struggling more now or more than whatever, what's your best advice to be the best possible ally to those that are struggling with their mental health?
I would say, hey, can I write these emails with you? Can we call a few people together? And also, you know, if you've gone to therapy in the past or in therapy now, it's always great to say, hey, I've done this. I don't think I'm better than you. I don't think there's something super wrong with you. This is a healthy thing that you can do that will help you in your life. I always say, I'm a therapist who sees a therapist. It's a great thing. And so if you can come alongside someone, make those phone calls with them, help them in the process so they don't feel so alone.
Dr.
That can be
Gallagher.
a great way to start.
Always a pleasure to see you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely, anytime.